Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Michi Makes Up. Today we're going to take a look at the new Dior Backstage Face and Body Powder No Powder. This looks beautiful, and when I saw the shade options online, the deeper shades looked so delicious, delectable. It looked like chocolate. Like you have milk chocolate to dark chocolate. It looks delicious. And it does speak to first the aesthetics and how smooth the product looks sitting on the, I guess the compact. And it does actually have, you can see it at this angle here, it does have pearlescent sheen to it. This powder is supposed to give you a natural radiant finish, but it also works to mattify your overall look. So it can be used as a finishing powder. You could use it without foundation just to blur and perfect your skin just a little bit. It can also be used to set your makeup as well. So let me swatch this for you. And I think you can see some of that sheen. I'll also put this on my wrist so you can see just the slightest hint of that pearlescent formulation. The shade that I have here is 1N. I do believe that for the wintertime it's the appropriate shade for me. Previously I did try their foundation concealer in 2N. It turned out to be too deep. So to my surprise, I thought 2N would be the shade here, but it looks like during the wintertime at least, it's going to be 1N for me. I would describe myself as having light to medium skin tone with neutral undertones. The product is made in Italy with a shelf life of 12 months. Before I go into other compacts or loose powders for comparisons, I want to look at the product description directly from the website. The Face and Body Powder No Powder helps create an even, naturally matte and luminous complexion without a powdery finish that lasts all day long. Instantly, the skin appears perfected, imperfections are blurred, shine is reduced. The complexion is naturally more even and skin texture is smooth. This multi-use powder can be worn alone or on top of foundation to mattify, blur imperfections, and set makeup, or to create a sun-kissed effect depending on the intensity of the chosen shade. The result is astonishingly natural and translucent. The powder effortlessly suits men as well. It's natural, perfecting finish, leaves no visible streaks, making it the perfect ally for a discreet, flawless complexion. The benefits of this is what sold me, and it reads, "This totally weightless powder no powder delivers a sheer, always natural finish. Formulated with no added talc and infused in a gelled base, this incredible powder provides a lightweight finish without a powdery effect even after touch-ups throughout the day. This mattifying powder blurs imperfections and evens out the complexion with a translucent finish. Its incredibly fine texture bathes the skin in an invisible veil of light, worn alone or on top of foundation to mattify or set makeup, or used as a bronzing powder." It sounds amazing from the product description, you know, all the marketing verbiage used to describe it. So I have really high hopes. You'll see me demo this later on. So let's do the swatches first and we can head on to the demo. I will have checkpoints throughout the day so we can see how this wears. And I think at one point I definitely do want to add more of the product on to see if that, you know, even if you were to add more on and do touch-ups, it wouldn't make you look cakey. So I'm definitely interested in testing that out. So the first product I want to swatch this against is going to be Chantecaille's Blurring Powder. This powder is subtle and amazing because it really truly blurs in the most subtle way. There is no sheen and it's a matte finish powder. And you can see next to the Dior swatch, it really has no sheen to it and has a matte finish. Then we also have Chantecaille's Loose Powder. This powder also has a matte finish. And I would say the Chantecaille Loose Powder has worked really, really well for me. It sets the makeup, it's mattifying, it absorbs oil, and while I don't consider it a miracle powder, I think it performs very well for what it is. I feel like it's gentle on my skin. So this is definitely my go-to for setting makeup. And I just wonder if Dior is going to have or hit the same high points as my loose setting powder with this product. So I'm definitely interested to see what happens to the Dior product throughout the day. Let's head on to the demo. I'll see you guys at the end. I'm going to use Sonia G's Master Face brush from her Sky Face set. This is the brush I use for finishing powders and setting powders. And we're going to start with the right side of the face. I'll come closer after, and then I'll go ahead and finish up the rest of the face. I'm gonna come a little bit closer, and the right side has the powder, the left is still not set. I can see the blurring qualities, and when I look on my vanity mirror, I do see some added radiance from the powder, but like this, it really is not very obvious. The foundation I'm using today is Surratt's Dewdrop Foundation in the shade number 5. That foundation, the finish itself is radiant and luminous, so I think no matter what, we're going to get radiance or lumosity come through. I think it's fair to say the powder has some mattifying qualities, but you don't get a matte finish from it. I think you do get like a radiant finish as per the product description. One thing I've noticed is I've applied a generous amount of powder, and when I go in to touch it, it still feels a little bit tacky. Like I can still feel the foundation underneath. And I'm not sure what exactly to think of that. When I use my typical or go-to loose setting powder, the tackiness is mostly covered. So I'm not sure if this is going to impact how the powder performs. What I'm gonna do for the test is, originally I thought I would just apply the powder on the left side and that will be the wear test. But I think it'll be helpful to compare it against the Chantecaille loose powder. This one, as I just mentioned now, it's very mattifying, but I think in terms of performance, it's still relevant to compare the two. So on my left side, I'm actually going to change up my test a little bit. I'm going to use the Chantecaille loose powder. Right off the bat, the right side is more radiant and sheer compared to the left side. From this, I don't feel like either is performing better than the other in terms of blurring imperfections or adding a blurred finished look. I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup, then we'll come back for a summary, and then we'll head into the various checkpoints throughout the day. So here is with my makeup finished. I did add some highlight onto the high points here. At this distance, at this time, both sides actually look pretty similar. And by touch, however, this side is overall more tacky than this side. So I do think you get more mattifying and coverage with the Chantecaille loose powder versus the Dior. But that's okay. That may actually not be any indication whether this powder is going to hold up nicely throughout the rest of the day and whether it's going to continue to help mattify and help absorb any oils that come through. So time will tell on this one. I'll definitely come back and give you guys an update. Because the powder itself is meant for the face and body, I like to apply some onto my shoulders. My neck is a little bit sensitive right now. I think you can see this red spot here. It's quite itchy, so I just want to avoid anything in this area. But with this top, the shoulders are perfect. Using the same brush as I did for my face, I'm just going to apply some right here. Because you can use this powder alone, it might be good to add some lumosity to the body this way. kind of hard to tell, like when I look in my vanity mirror, I do see a little bit of a sheen. It's just not that noticeable. I think it is very subtle, the effect. All right, I'll come back in a couple of hours and we can take a look at how everything sits then. So now it's been about 5 hours since I applied the powders on. I'm gonna come in for a closer look to see what's going on. The right side is Dior and the left side is Chantecaille. With Chantecaille, after I finished applying the powders initially, it was pretty mattifying. It is a matte loose powder. And on the right side now with Dior, I haven't become more oily. And so I think the mattifying effect that you're supposed to have throughout the day, I think that is true from what I can see now. In fact, with the natural oils that have come through on my left side, I would say with the studio lighting, it looks even a touch more shiny with the Chantecaille powder. And without studio lighting, however, it is harder to tell. The two sides look the same. I mean, even if you look really hard for that sheen on the right side, it's still hard to tell. So whatever sheen or lumosity, I think under regular lighting, it's actually hard to pick up. So at first I thought with my check-in, I'm going to apply more of this powder to see how it would sit. But now I'm really more interested in finding out if it has better mattifying effects for longer than the Chantecaille loose powder. So I'm going to leave things as is without any kind of touch-up. And then for my last check-in, I'll come back and just see how the oil is on the face and which side has more oil than the other. I'll come back in about 2 hours. I'll see you guys then. This is my final check-in. In my last check-in, I mentioned that I'll come back in 2 hours, but it's actually been 3.5. So it's been a full day wear test. Let's take a look here. On the right side is Dior and left side is Chantecaille loose powder. I would say the left side has more oil, like more of my natural oils have come through than the right side. The right side, the powder and product sitting on top is still looking intact. And so I think the mattifying effects of the Dior powder actually works pretty well for my skin and the foundation that I have on, which is Surratt's Dewdrop Foundation. The only thing that I want to mention, and it's worth noting, is the tackiness I feel with this foundation. And you can see some of the powder and foundation itself that transferred onto my fingers. With this side, I don't have the same tackiness. Like what I feel is oil, but there's less transfer. It's so strange because it felt like that in the beginning. After I applied the powder, I thought throughout the day it's just going to become more tacky and, you know, all these oils are going to come through, but that's actually not happening. Like when I look at it like this, it just seems like the right side has held up better. We still have that pearlescent sheen from the powder and some oils, but not to the degree of the left side, which I use a mattifying powder and it was completely matte and finished too. I think that's really, really interesting. As for the other benefits of the product, things like blurring effects, natural radiant finish, and the whole lightweight, how light this product feels on your face and it doesn't add to feeling like you have a lot of makeup on. I would agree with how lightweight it feels. It is fairly sheer when you apply it on. I used a lot of product and there was no cakiness, so I think yes, indeed, it is lightweight. It does blur your complexion, but all setting powders and finishing powders that I've tried, it has some degree of blurring effects. And I wouldn't say that the Dior powder is any better than the powders that I've tried, including Hourglass's ambient lighting powders. For the natural radiant finish, you do get a natural finish, and I suppose it is radiant in the sense that it helps to brighten your complexion. But beyond that, I couldn't say that this is especially luminous or especially radiant. I think it has maybe the right amount to balance between not making you look oily as time goes on, but still give you that slight radiant boost. So I definitely agree with lightweight. It has normal as expected blurring effects, and it does have a fairly natural finish. And I think if you are a fan of Dior makeup, you're interested in this product, it is worth trying. I'm actually interested in getting a deeper shade to use it as a bronzer. Now that I see how nicely it still sits on the face after a full day of wear, I think as a bronzer it would work well too. Like, it wouldn't add greasiness to my already oily complexion at the end of the evening. So I know I'll be using this as a setting powder the next couple of times I do makeup, and then I will also use it as a finishing powder. If nothing else, I think this would do well as a finishing powder. If I don't like that tackiness I was talking about earlier, I could put the Chantecaille powder and layer this on to help with oil control as the day goes on. So let me know what you think below, if you've tried the Dior powder or if you're interested. Again, this is the shade 1N. That's what I would be using in the wintertime. Probably in the summer, 2N, and maybe the next shade would be suitable for me. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye.